If you're one to keep up with the news, it's likely that you've heard about America's battle with book bans. But what are book bans? What's so harmful about them? And as librarians, what are we going to do about them? Book bans are the actual removal of a book from a school, university, or public library. Book bans begin as a challenge where someone such as a parent, a patron, a political or religious organization attempts to have access to a book restricted or removed altogether as a consequence of their objection to a book's subject matter. Within the first half of the 2022-23 school year, PEN America recorded 1,477 instances of book bannings. That's a 28% increase as recorded from the last 6 months. These bans occur overwhelmingly in Texas, Florida, Utah, Missouri, and South Carolina, where local and state-level policies are negatively affecting access to reading material. Unfortunately, an overwhelming number of the books that are being challenged are by or about people of color or people who identify as LGBTQ+. For example, 30% of those 1,477 books contain characters of color or themes concerned with race or racism. Likewise, 26% contain LGBTQ+ themes or characters. These patterns are also what make book bans so harmful to students and young people in America. Rudine Sims Bishop gives a beautiful illustration of how crucial books are in our lives by describing them as either mirrors, windows, or sliding glass doors. She explains that mirrors reflect your own identity and experiences back to you. Windows offer a view into another person's experiences, while sliding glass doors allow for an opportunity to engage with an experience that an author has created, even if it's different from our own. It is vital that everyone not only see themselves represented in books, but that they read stories that are far different from their own. For developing minds, it can be just as harmful to only see a version of their lives reflected in the books they read as it can be to not see one at all. In order to gain empathy and deeper understanding, we must read stories that are vastly different from our own. However, standing up against book bans can be really hard because actually most book bans are initiated with the best intentions. Most parents just want to protect their children from material they deem inappropriate, offensive, or too mature. And they have every right to do this for their families. The problem exists when a book is being removed from a public space where another family might want or need access to it. So if we can see that both sides just want what's best for themselves and their children, and we want to strive to understand all patrons of the library, where does that leave us as librarians? The first way to use your platform as a librarian is to ensure that your patrons feel heard. We all just want the assurance that someone is going to listen to us and take our concerns seriously. And that's exactly what we should be doing. So if someone comes to your library wanting to challenge or ban your materials, start by listening and trying to understand their point of view, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. Acknowledging their concerns in a patient and kind way can go a long way towards ensuring that patrons feel like your library is a safe space to ask questions and facilitate hard conversations. Secondly, as simple as it sounds, encourage reading. Some book bans are being put forward by individuals who may not have even read the books they're attempting to restrict. So encourage them to give it a read. It might alter their perception of certain materials to be able to interpret it for themselves and then decide what they think about it. This may not solve the issue, but it can be a lot harder to argue against something once you've glimpsed an experience that differs from your own in this world. Finally, make sure there are policies in place to enact when someone does come forward to challenge a book in your library. Do not wait for this to happen, though. Take proactive steps towards ensuring that your school or library has a comprehensive process of review to follow if a book were to be challenged. The American Library Association has a wealth of advice in the form of written steps to take when reconsidering a book in a fair and transparent way when challenges do occur, as well as how to respond to patrons about their specific concerns. In conclusion, book bans are limiting access to diverse stories and experiences, especially for students and young readers. It is my opinion that as librarians, we should encourage rather than stifle these stories that are different than ours, and include rather than restrict access to these titles. In an effort to counteract the spread of misinformation, I've included all the resources that I used or was inspired by in the description down below. I urge you to take a look at them or find your own in order to research this topic for yourself. No matter what we believe, it is important to be educated about the stances we take and the issues we fight for.